All right. Good morning. Hello, everyone. It is a new week, academic week at least. It is a new semester. It's a new year. It's a new everything. So, hello. Welcome to COM 404/604. I always enjoy putting together a fresh introductory video whenever I teach a new section of a class. All the other videos that you're going to find, or most of them, on our Canvas page have been recorded at a different date. But I like to say hi fresh when we're starting a new semester together, just to kind of let you know about any kind of changes and just say hi in the moment here. So I just want to talk about the syllabus and the class and some new approaches that I'm taking here and some new changes. This is Principles of Persuasion. This is a class that I kind of not took from Dr. Bloomfield, but she was out on leave or sabbatical a couple of years back. I think she was having a baby, and this was a class that she had been doing for a number of years. It was kind of her class, but I think it's a required class, and so we needed it to be taught, and so I slipped in and picked it up and have enjoyed it. This is a bullseye kind of class in terms of rhetorical studies, which we are both rhetorical scholars, and David Gruber. We are the rhetoric people in our department. Bloomfield, Conley, Gruber. And so Principles of Persuasion has become a class that I have been doing more routinely lately, and I'm happy about that. And I have made a few little changes for the approach this time around. So first of all, I'll say that I'm talking to kind of two different sections here. We started doing this thing again recently. We tried to get away from this a few years back, these bridge classes, these combined classes, but now we're doing them again, where 404 and 604, that's a graduate class. So there's 4 graduate students in this class, on top of the 30 undergraduates that are also in this class. So it's a little tricky because I'm kind of speaking to 2 audiences who are also one audience. But I just want to say hi to the grad students. Hi y'all. Just to let you know that we have to talk. We have to figure out sort of some additional stuff for you all. I will come up with, I don't know if it's a separate syllabus, but like an appendix or a supplement to this syllabus talking about the grad portion of it. So you haven't been forgotten, you're not being ignored. I just needed to do a major lift here with all my undergraduate sections to get them ready, and I'll explain more what has been involved in that here. And more is coming. Okay, so the class on persuasion is structured around, this is the second page here. First of all, my name is Donovan Conley. Sorry, I just did a video and I'm getting a little jumbled up in what I've covered and not covered. But my name is Donovan Conley, and I've been in this department longer than anyone. Since 2004 is when I first got here. So 22 years. Wow. And I've been doing, classes in rhetoric, theory, history, criticism, public sphere type stuff, everyday culture, popular kind of stuff. My area of interest in terms of my scholarship, but also in terms of my life, is food systems, is eating, is this business of taste. My main kind of theory, conceptual interest is in taste. What is it? How does it work? What does it affect? How does it develop? How does it take shape? How is it influenced? That's the rhetoric side. Is like taste is influenced by all these different factors, and then in turn, taste is something that influences the world around us based on the choices we make and don't make and all the rest of it. So that's kind of where my research juice comes from, is food systems, culture. I'm really interested in aesthetics and style, which is sort of like, this ephemeral questions of like, why do we care so much about this versus that? And why is that appealing? It doesn't make sense. It's very irrational. And over here, I'm really interested in hard things, materiality. I'm interested in structures and technologies and how I call them the soft and the hard, right? So we got the soft stuff, aesthetics and style, things that just look a certain way or feel a certain way, and then over here we have hard structures and history and, you know, the legacies of our institutions and all that really rigid stuff, and how do those kind of play together? That's where I live. All right. So the class, as I was saying, is structured around 5 content units. So we've got basic principles of persuasion. So 3 weeks for all of these. 3 weeks for each of these units, and there's 5 of them. So we got basic principles, and then the way the class is structured is the idea here, based on what I just said about sort of like persuasion's all around us. It's in the soft things, it's in the hard things. All right, so my premise, my presumption is that rhetoric, persuasion is coming at us all the time, and like from low level. It's very obvious in some instances, like advertising and campaigns, and like someone's coming at you with like, I'm trying to convince you, right? There's persuasion right in front of you. But as I've been talking about, like food systems, technology, video games, cell phones, all of these digital devices, they also influence us and persuade us in these low-level ways. So I like to think about suasion. Persuasion emphasizes the speaking, the locution, right? But suasion is just that which moves something else. And that, for me, is fair game in terms of persuasion. So we're going to be looking at more and more kind of subtle forms of persuasion as the class proceeds. So we're starting obvious and explicit. With the second one is formal and explicit persuasion, arguments, logic, obvious stuff, right? Then we get into semi-formal and suggestive persuasion. I think that's like campaigns and social movements and that kind of stuff. And then we get into informal and implicit. Now we're getting more low level, we're getting more hidden, more invisible, right? We're talking about frames. We're talking about, what else do we talk about there? I think we talk about like design and nudge theory and that kind of stuff. And then finally, persuasion or prediction is all of this insane data stuff and digital stuff, and the world of influence is digital right now, right? And so we got to kind of think about that, and how do we think about that as students of rhetoric, and how do we reckon with it and all the rest. So that's the kind of the structure of the class. We kind of go from above consciousness to below consciousness, if that makes sense. And we're moving from like the most obvious examples of persuasion that are right in front of you, like someone's vehemently trying to make an argument or convince you about some policy or whatever, or you're doing that with someone else. Versus toward the end where we're talking about things like algorithms, where you can't see them and you can't smell them and you can't touch an algorithm, but boy is it doing a lot of persuasive work out there and changing everything, right? So that's the kind of the sweep of the class. Now, in terms of assignments and grading, this is where I have been spending. I'm a little bit behind getting all my classes ready this semester because I ended up doing a pretty big lift on all of my classes. We're going with contract grading. And this is something that I played around with a little bit in my 409 class last semester, and I decided to go all in. I've been having conversations with colleagues and with Claude, my AI, my preferred AI collaborator, consultant, assistant, whatever. And I spent a lot of time over the last few days working through the details and the complexities of this whole contract grading approach. I wonder if you guys have much experience with it on your side of things. But the idea here is I have 3 sections of class. I've got close to 100 students, and there's a lot of assignments, and I just don't want to be spending my whole life grading. I've got all my research that I need to be doing as well, right? Meanwhile, you guys have lives. You guys have all kinds of different things going on. You guys have different levels of investment and interest and maybe time to devote to a given class in a given semester, right? So why don't we try to sort of like be upfront about all of that, and then out of the gate, let's be really honest with what you want out of this, or what you're able to put into this class, this experience, this semester, right? So we have 3 different paths, assignment paths through the class: an A path, a B path, and a C path, or these are the different contracts. And so in week 2, you're going to choose your path, your contract. And another way of thinking about this is a colleague of mine calls it bundling. So here's an A bundle. It's a bundle of assignments. B has a different bundle of assignments, and C has a different bundle. And the basic distinctions here are not necessarily in terms of like what's harder, what's easier, or are you a smarter student or are you a less smart student. It is, do you want to run 9 races? Do you want to do 7 races? Or do I have the right numbers here? I think that's it. I'm doing this with 3 classes here. So we got, it's 10, 8, and 6, right? So The idea of the selection of the contracts is that everyone is going to give their very best and they're going to do A-level work for all assignments, and that's what we're aspiring for. But if you want the B contract, or if you want the B bundle or the load or that slightly less resistive path, then you're going to just run fewer races, right? And if you want the C bundle or path, then you're going to run the least amount of races. But you're still expected to run at the A level. You know what I mean? Like it's not about you're putting in less effort on any given assignment. You're just doing less assignments total, okay? So we have, just to break down the assignments here, we've got 5 quizzes, 1 quiz at the end of each unit of the 5 units. These are simple 10-point questions. No, I'm getting rid of all my writing in my quizzes. So it's just, these are key concepts, major principles, this kind of stuff, right? And in order to so we're doing complete or incomplete. In order to get a completion on the quizzes, you need to get 9 out of 10. But you can retake them as many times as it takes, sort of like the driver's test, right? If you miss one question, take it again, you'll get there. So those are repeatable, retakeable, and you want to get that 9 out of 10. Again, it's just, I think these are 45 minutes. They're every 3 weeks or so. And you have the ability to retake. Okay, so that's for everyone, all contracts. Now, the B contract, the other major assignments, as you see, this is on this, I should have numbered these pages. Second page, we have the persuasive appeal analysis. That's a kind of standard Aristotelian ethos, logos, pathos analysis kind of thing. We have a campaign strategy memo. We have a frame analysis working with AI to talk about framing, because we talk about frame theory with Lakoff around that time. There's a persuasive ecosystem map. This gets to my interest in space and materiality, and the idea that the spaces we move through are persuasive. The landscapes that we inhabit are filled with architecture that has been designed to get us to do things. We want to be thinking about the environments we inhabit and the spaces we inhabit. And then finally, a live persuasion intervention. This is you trying to persuade yourself or persuade someone in your life. This is actual real world stuff, right? It's like journaling. It's thinking about a goal, a very specific and practical goal, using theory. How did it go? That whole thing, right? So we have the 5 quizzes, and then we've got 5 additional assignments. Now, if you want the A, you're doing all of them. All right. Now, that's a good amount of work, but these other 5 assignments aren't massive, and they're meant to be different. They're meant to exercise different kinds of competencies and deal with different kinds of theories and so on. So that's that. And if you want the B contract, you will do 8. So you're going to do the quizzes and then choose 3 others. Doesn't matter which 3. And then if you want the C contract, you do the quizzes plus 1 of the major 5. All right. So that's just any one of those other major assignments. How do you choose the other assignments? Well, pretty soon I will have those new assignments or all those assignments up and posted, and you can kind of look them through. So if it's based on like what would I like to do? Do I want to write a paper or a memo, or would I rather work with AI, or am I interested in this ecosystem map? You get to decide based on what maybe looks interesting or challenging or relevant to you. Or maybe it's purely based on calendar, right? Maybe it's like, I know I got a big trip coming up, or I got this huge work thing coming up, or a family thing or whatever. So you can like space things out as that works best for you. I don't know. It's my thinking is like big part of advanced undergraduate classes, and especially for grad work, is you need to have really good organizational skills. And so I would hope that everyone is looking at their calendars for the whole semester when you start your classes, and you're looking at when things are due, and you're plugging in all your deadlines and due dates. And so by all means, make your decisions based on when the workload makes best sense to you. How you decide is completely up to you. In the second week, you'll let me know. How am I going to do this? I think it's a little 1-question quiz kind of thing in Canvas. So you'll choose your contract by the end of week 2, and then by the end of week 7, you'll have the ability to change that contract based on how things are going. And then after that, we're locked into the contracts, okay? Now, and how it works with this complete or incomplete is I'm doing away with grades. So I got to go back into Canvas. I got to pull out all of the points that have been designed into the existing assignment. So this is a major lift, right? I got to sort of change everything in Canvas in order for it to reflect and be able to manage and handle what I've done here in the syllabus. But the idea is, for every assignment that we're doing, the expectation is that we're all going to do our very best, and the goal is to complete the assignment. And if you don't do the completion expectations, then you get an incomplete if it's way off. If you come close, you'll get the opportunity to revise, right? So let's take a look on the third page where it lists the 3 contracts, and then below that it talks about each assignment is graded as complete, revise, or incomplete, right? Now, what counts as completed is the whole game here. So I need to make sure that everyone's like paying close attention, write this down, make note of this. I spent a good amount of time developing these completion standards for these assignments. So please look them over. Look them over now, look them over again when you're submitting these assignments or considering which ones to take or to do. And I will also be building this language back into the Canvas assignment descriptions when you go to actually do those assignments. Because it's important that we all know this is essentially the rubric for the assignment, except that it's not like a graded A, B, C, D kind of thing. It's basically AF. If you get a like C, then you can revise. If you get close but not quite there, I will let you know what's missing, and then you have a week to revise. All right. So the quizzes, there's no revision on the quizzes. You just keep taking them until you get the 9 out of 10, and then you're done. Persuasive appeal analysis, it lets you know what the assignment is looking for. So again, that's what you want to be aiming for. And when I'm grading, it's like, okay, do we get there? Okay, complete. Right now, there's going to be a little bit of fuzziness, but don't give yourself any opportunities for me to think that you're not all the way there, right? You want to run that race as quickly as you can and to clear that bar as best you can. So it's listing for all of this campaign strategy memo, what's being looked for there, persuasive ecosystem map, everything is laid out in terms of what the expectations are. So that's the thing that you need to care the most about for this whole semester, this whole grading thing, is what's the assignment looking for. Make sure you clear that bar, and then you're done. Your assignment's over, okay? Now, if you have questions about the assignments, I don't know if I'm ready to clear the bar, or I'm not sure what the bar even is, that's when you reach out. Please reach out before the assignments. There's going to be no bonus. There's no extra credit. There's no making up things at the end, right? So you got, one of the requirements of this approach with the contracts is that you're being honest with yourself, and then you're holding to, your choices, and you're following through on that, all right? So please read through all of this stuff. I'm getting long here. I don't want to go longer than 20 minutes. Read through all the contract stuff. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. All of the particulars are on the schedule here in terms of what we're doing each week. There might be some videos that I need to create along the way. If so, they will be coming. I don't think there's too many, if any at all, but we'll see. Maybe toward the end. So at this point, it's basically just dive into the material, poke around the website, look through the syllabus, and then start getting going on Aristotle, reading that Perloff introduction, and then a little bit of some of the original Aristotle's pages from On Rhetoric, which is really where this whole business of persuasion kind of comes from, at least in the Western tradition. All right, so that's where we're starting, and I think I have a little discussion, like say hello kind of thing as well. Feel free to pop by and say hi and tell us a little bit about yourself. And I think that's about it for right now, gang. Hopefully I haven't missed anything major. If so, we'll talk on the line. We'll talk on Canvas. Hope everyone's well. Grad students, we'll check in with each other. I think I'll send you an email and we'll start talking, because I like to craft grad student work. There's a little bit of extra work that grad students will be doing. I like to craft that in consultation with the students themselves, and like what is going to give you the best experience, and what are you interested in. So we'll figure that out together. All right. So there we go, gang, and have a great week. Looking forward to meeting you. The office hours are 2 to 4 on Tuesdays. I would love to meet you. Please come by, but maybe let me know if you're thinking about coming by, so I can make sure to be there. And I look forward to it. So have a great semester, great class, and be well. Peace.